Good evening, all. There's, I think, three of you joining me. Let me just see here. All right.
And I made about a month ago. And what I've noticed is that while I've been able to, because I'm fairly new to this, very new to this website building, I probably erred in choosing a somewhat heavy theme. And so I'm trying to do my best to lighten things up and to make it a little bit more Google friendly, at least using Lighthouse parameters and the testing. And I note that now I've gotten to the point where the desktop speed is, 95, 98, close to 100. It's loading, under a second. The first images are appearing very quickly. But on the mobile, it's just been a bit of a frustration. And because a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing, in some instances, I've taken one step forward and 3 steps back. And it's hard to know exactly whether I'm in the right direction. Some of the things that I've done to the site to try to make it a little bit faster is I had reCAPTCHA on, and I just, in looking at the render blocking of the reCAPTCHA, I just removed it and instead used Akismet and just a basic math quiz on my contact form 7. The other thing that I did was I used asset cleanup to remove asset form 7 from all pages except from those that actually require it, because that was something that I had learned that that form tends to populate throughout the site, whether it's being used or not. Those were small steps in the right direction. I had Microsoft Clarity as well, monitoring what people were doing. And I removed that as well, just because I found it was a little bit too much bloat. I had replaced the cache with one that, with Breeze, that apparently is supposed to play nicer with Cloudways and and Cloudflare. I'm not sure that I really noticed a big difference there. I had a call now button for mobile users that I think was also slowing things down. So I removed that as well. That actually improved things about 10%, 15%, all those things. So it was, again, moving in the right direction, but still scoring in the 30s, sometimes below 30 using the Lighthouse testing. The next thing that I saw that was actually taking up a lot of, I guess, was render blocking, and was the Google API maps that were, I think, integrated as part of the theme. And so my not knowing really what to do, I took out the map itself and replaced it with static images of our office locations in the hope that that might speed things up on loading. It didn't really change very much. I then completely unloaded the maps, a Google API using asset cleanup. And because that was tying up about 1200 milliseconds. And that actually doubled my speed. So I'm now in the 60s to 65. Wow. So that was significant. All the images on the site are either WebP or AVIF. They're all compressed.
What was the last step that you just referred to that gave you the doubling of your speed?
So
was it the acid?
Whatever? Yeah, asset cleanup. I actually unloaded the the JavaScript, the actual map Google APIs. So I just unloaded all site-wide. I unloaded it using Acid Cleanup. So the maps that I have on my site now are just static images that I've created pages for, so, a page for. So so it's not having to utilize the Google API for that at all. So pushing that aside, because I saw that when I was looking at the waterfall, this was like probably the biggest issue on the site, was that saying that I could save about 1,200 milliseconds if I could somehow defer or deal with this. Again, not having any, like, I've been at this for a month now. So a month ago, I would have zero knowledge. So I've gone from 0 to whatever speed I'm at right now in terms of my knowledge, just by trial and error. The problem is that the errors, sometimes it's like undoing a knot in a shoelace. You know, if you pull too tight, you make it worse. And that's, I think, part of the issue is that, you know, I've taken it about as far now as I can. I have all the images on the site are WebP or AVIF using a plugin. They're also compressed using WP Optimize, but I think the Cloudflare is also compressing. So it's probably, you know, many times over, these images are about as small as they can be. The last thing that I've done is I noted that some of the background images that were part of the theme were also slowing things down. And so the below the fold, or the images, are now lazy loaded, and the background images that are not required in the upper part, or the visible part below the fold, are all lazy loaded. This has helped to a degree. So on a good day, my high water mark is like 77 on mobile. There's so much inconsistency though, in terms of time of day, or even I can do sequentially and I can get a 50, I can get a 70, I can get a 78.
Who's your host?
I'm using Cloudways.
Cloudways.
Yeah.
And the theme?
It's a RARA theme. It's a professional lawyer theme.
Right.
You know, it was purported to be somewhat, I mean, everybody advertises their stuff as lightweight, but not knowing, like, if I would have known, if I knew then what I know now, I would have gone with a much lighter theme. But it seems as though now, in order to lighten things up, my guess is that I would need somebody that could actually tweak the theme itself. And that's something that that's out of my depth, unless I'm missing something else. The other thing is that I've got about 20 plugins. I'm not sure whether, you know, there's so much overlap in terms of what certain plugins do. And so I'm not sure whether I'm ideally optimized in that sense. I'm hoping that I'm making some sense here, but that's kind of where I'm at. In terms of as I say, the desktop scores, very good. Like, I'm in the 98, 99. It's near perfect. I'm not going to waste any more time on that side, but on the mobile side, I've had to pull so much stuff out, like the reCAPTCHA, like the clarity, like the call now button, to strip this down. And you know, I'm not sure whether there's anything that might be useful at this point to explore.
Have you used a page builder on the site?
No.
Okay, so there's no real issue of gigantic DOM model or the number of nodes being flagged by.
No, I haven't seen that. In fact, I look for like large DOM. That's never come up on any of the Lighthouse testing or PageSpeed Insights or.
That's good. I mean, that's something to be aware of. So,
yeah.
A fellow in our last session told us his report had an item flag because it had 2,300 nodes on it on one page.
Okay.
And that's a function largely of Page Builder.
Okay, yeah.
So that can be an issue, but it doesn't appear to be an issue in your particular case. Who'd like to sort of start off and either find out more or offer a starting point for going about this? Just pipe up and unmute yourself. You can control that. Is that Gunther wanting to speak? Or
it's just Boyan Bo here. I've been around this industry for a while, and Jacques, I feel your pain. I mean, those damn images just don't want to get out. I mean, and especially with the cell phone users nowadays, it's very important. So I hear you 100%. I mean, as someone who's been doing a lot of websites for members and clients, they want that cell phone. They don't care about the desktop as much nowadays because, I mean, let's be honest, we're all walking around visiting websites on the phones. Personally, what I would recommend, as much as it painfully sounds, I had to do the same thing, is totally revamping the team. I found Divi. You guys probably all heard about it. Divi does the trick for me in 99.9% of my clients because A, it's a very fast team to the point I don't remember when was the last time I scored negative on my
Sorry, what was the name of the team?
Divi, D-I-V-I, or whatever they pronounce it. Yeah. I found it to be great. One, I had no problem paying $90, whatever is it, to use it. People love it. I have different aspects where I can use it for whatever client I want because they have different layouts. So it's great one, fast one. I mean, like I said, I had to do the same thing because I had an issue where my phone, I was literally going to drop it off 3rd floor because it was that slow of opening up the pages with other teams. Again, professionally done teams, no problems with them. But I mean,
and so is your experience that the mobile version of the Divi themed sites you built is roughly comparable in performance to the desktop version?
Literally a point, like not even noticeable difference.
Okay.
Which always works because, like I said, I mean, people look at you know, the actual speed on the phone because they want to open that up. And the other thing too is with Divi that I never experienced any issue is that it's automatically kind of blending it in for the phone. So you don't even have to worry about, like Jacques had to do, oh, well, let me remove this image, let me remove this, let me remove that. This thing does it, like the team, because it's that light, it does it for you that you don't even have to do as much. I mean, I've literally built the websites in a matter of, I'd say 3 days max, as long as obviously customer has all the content. I will build it up, no problem. It's automatically generated for the phone. So, I mean, as much as painfully it sounds, copy pasting with the team, I had to do the same thing. My server dropped for me on a HostGator for one of the websites, and I thought they had my database, and they told me, nope, we have absolutely no database saved for you. I was like, what do you mean? Boy. So literally I had to redo the website. And luckily, I'm one of those guys that I like to type my own and then copy paste it. So luckily I had documents that I saved on my laptop. So I was copy pasting, building it. But yeah, no, I mean, as painfully as it sounds, you're probably best bet because think of it this way. If you start removing stuff from the cell phone version, it's not going to look the same. And then you're going to have the client where they're like, hey, what are we doing? You know, like, why is this
I think just to jump in here, one of the questions in my mind was why there would be such a stark difference in performance in a quality theme, you know, a professionally created theme shouldn't have a large discrepancy between desktop and mobile.
Exactly.
Now, mobile is not something that I'm as conversant on as other things, so I will leave it to Drew. Do you want to pitch in here? Or Jacques?
Yeah, if I can just, before we move on to somebody else, just to drill down.
Jacques, I was referring to the other Jacques.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just, oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I second Boyan's suggestion of replacing the theme. I think that this is going to be a better use of your time than trying to get this theme going any faster that you got. There are some excellent themes. Divi is one of them. There's another very good one called Astra. There's another excellent one called Generate Press. Astra and Generate Press have free versions as well that are also quite good and very fast. So any of those three would be good choices.
And is it not also fair to say, Drew, that for these large and popular themes, there are a sufficient number of templates that you can create a wide variety of different looks or types of sites, from whether it's a newsletter sort of thing or a news site to a professional site to a blogging site, for example.
That's certainly true with Astra. They have the Astra starter sites, which are about 130 or so essentially pre-built websites that you can just download and use as is, and just replace the boilerplate content.
Same thing goes with the Divi. Sorry to jump in. Literally, it's the same thing. They have different platforms, different things, and that you could use.
I think as well that is one of the reasons why they should be a good performers from a speed point of view, is that if you are using a packaged site, so to speak, that they will then know exactly what's going on, as compared to a theme in which you've done things which they may or may not have anticipated, and therefore may or may not contribute to its performance. However, it is a big step to go to a new theme, especially to one of the large themes with a large collection of templates to choose from. Anybody else have a thought to contribute in terms of this discussion? Or Drew, want to add to what you had said?
No, I think that's about it.
Any thoughts just on how there'd be a large discrepancy between desktop and mobile if it's a reasonably well-designed theme in the first place? I mean, mobile is obviously something that developers are aware of in building a theme, right?
You would think so. That's
so I guess the question might be, how much might be added to the theme by Jacques that had a performance impact in mobile but not in desktop? And that's a question I don't know the answer to, but it's an interesting question.
Screen resolution has a lot to do with it. Because see, when you build a website for a desktop, you're looking at, okay, can that website fit nicely on, a 2x4 screen, right?
Yeah, but we're not talking about the way the site is displayed. We're talking about just whatever is displayed, how fast does it get displayed?
But that's the thing, because the way how some teams are built, and that's what I'm saying, see, the developers, they just want to have those download clicks, right? And then, so when they build those teams, they're not really looking for compatibility between desktop and mobile. They just want to get it out of the way and, get those downloaded clicks. But a true good developers will focus on both sides, understanding that the economy is now divided equally between desktop and mobile.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Jacques, do you have a thought? I see a picture.
I'm having a presentation tomorrow, Zoom presentation, a meetup on mobile optimization. And a lot of the topics that are being discussed here will be treated in that presentation. I've put in the notes the address for the agenda, and then also the Zoom address for the meetup.
Could you just in 3 or 4 minutes give us a sort of a highlight, a short list of 3 or 4 things that you'll cover and that the other Jacques might think would be worth bringing him to the session?
Okay. First of all, the most important point is that in the last 5 years, things have shifted from the desktop to mobile, and Google is acting quite vigorously in supporting mobile to match desktop performance. But as my namesake Jacques has shown, mobile is usually about anywhere from 20 to 40% slower than the desktop using the same WordPress web server. And
just in a
so
nutshell,
you have
Jacques,
to
in a nutshell, Jacques, in a nutshell, what causes this? I mean, this is obviously an issue. Is there a sort of a general explanation that you're going to develop in this session?
The biggest problem is that I've encountered and that I've seen explanation for is for systems that on the mobile side, they have various accompaniment requirements. And so like I was looking through the insights, the Google page insights, and my gosh, there were so many things that were ignored on the desktop insights, but were flagged as problems on the mobile side. And now, why is that so? I think that partially the point raised by others is that the criteria is to get the desktop out and not necessarily to optimize the particularly mobile. The performance on yours truly tablets usually follows reasonably close to the desktop, but mobile, there's all sorts of additional requirements that Google seems to be on top of, but the page builder, sorry, the theme builders are not necessarily. So the net result is that I have a 5-task process in which you go through and examine the 5 most important things to do that you can do immediately to improve your mobile performance. And right at the top of the list is to get the right hosting service. But it appears that Jacques 2 is on Cloudways, and that's one of the faster servers available and hosting services. The second problem is actually more detailed, and that is you need a page builder that is second level responsive. Now, what do I mean by second level responsive? Most page builders are first level responsive, so they automatically do things like shrink images, realign sections, and so forth. Create menus that on the mobile side become a hamburger, and then the hamburger breaks out into a vertical menu. That comes with just about, I don't know of any page builder that doesn't do that, let's put it that way. But now third or second order optimization is where what you want to do is you want to get for each page, for each device, some customizations that make it look better, fit better. You may even want to just drop certain sections or certain images from the thing, rather than building a complete separate page for mobile or for IoT devices or tablets. You don't want to get into that ball game, because then if any changes are required in the overall thing, changes in the page, the pages are really, or the changes are spread over maybe 2-3 pages each for each type device. Whereas the top builders, I've been using Beaver Builder and Elementor quite heavily, and occasionally Divi and Thrive, and all of them have great what I call second level responsiveness, and that means I can go in and edit for a distinctive look on a template page or on a mobile page, and yet the look for the desktop is unaffected by those special customizations. It's very similar to what a lot of systems page builders do for Hoover and stuff like that. You can get it down to very specific stuff. Then the third thing that
Jacques, I'm afraid I have to interrupt because we're running kind of long on our first question here. I think you've given some useful guidance to Jacques number 2. Whether he can make it tomorrow or not will, of course, be up to him to decide. But I think those are excellent points that you made, and I wasn't aware of sort of taking a multi-level approach to the way you view the way a page builder works, and it's a good point. It's a good perspective to take. Now, was it Ingrid, I think, who was coming on chat to ask a question? And so, and then there was a fellow who's one of our guests who's got his hand raised, but didn't put his name in, or at least, I'm sorry, but I don't speak Chinese, so I can't translate the name. But you'll be next if you can wait a few moments. Ingrid.
Great. I think super simple question. Really happy to bring it in the space. With my WordPress site now, I don't know how many plugins I have, but I have 20 items in my portfolio, 20 different items. And I've always, until last week, been able to upload URL links to the video, which are featured on my WordPress site. And as of last week, I can no longer upload any video links. It just basically, I upload the link. What should normally pop up as the hero image or thumbnail just becomes the flower. And I get the wheel of death for a minute. And when I go to update, nothing ever turns up on my page. And it just suddenly started to do that. And I have no idea why.
Are you using the Gutenberg editor?
How would I be able to know that for certain?
When you
where does the place that you put the URL come from? Is it a block, or is it
a YouTube,
or is it part of
a YouTube link?
Yes, it's a YouTube link. But what is it going into?
It's going into my video generate from embedresponsibly.com. It says generate from, and then it just has a little bar that says enter URL, which is where I've always, for my 19 other portfolio pages, I just enter the YouTube link in there. When I do that, I get the spinning wheel. It goes back. Yeah, go ahead.
A quick answer for me, and then we'll go on to somebody who knows more than I do. What I found with YouTube is that something that worked flawlessly up till today all of a sudden stops working. it means going back to YouTube and getting a fresh copy of the embed code, because there may be some trivial change that you wouldn't even notice, but which causes the old way, yesterday's, to fail, as opposed to this slightly changed code. Now, that could well not be your issue. So let's open it up to others.
Well, and thinking that could be the case, I did upload the same video to my Vimeo. I made the Vimeo link public, and I tried the Vimeo link in that URL spot as well, and it wouldn't take.
Right, but it's not just a link, it's the code around the link that tells the browser to turn on a player, use this URL, start at this point, with or without a thumbnail, with or without a caption, and so on. And that's usually that comes from the provider of the video source, the upload, the cloud, whatever, YouTube in this particular case. Who would like to offer an answer to this particular question?
Well, I have a thought. I wonder if you take this link and just paste it into your browser window, are we sure this link actually works?
Yeah, 100%. So can I share my screen? Am I allowed to do that?
Yes, yes, of course. And let me just go ahead, and it should work.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you for enabling me. Yeah. So here is the URL. So I've got my gallery. I've got everything. So here's where I want to put in the video. And I'm just going to basically delete it for now. But when I put it in my browser, the same video link.
Work.
1 second. Oh, I got a bracket there back. That. So the video comes up.
Okay.
Same video link. I go to my page. I want to enter the URL, same video link. So this is what happens. I get the wheel, I get the flower. I'm thinking, okay, still I'll go up, I'll update, but it's just not connecting to my page. I'll get the circle, the circle, the circle, forever and ever. Just does not want to accept any link. I could put in any link in there. It's not catching it. Then I go back to the page, it's disappeared. Put it in again. And then it just vanishes. I'll go to public to update. I'll go back. Link's still there now. Go up. So
is this is generated, or at least what we're looking at now is from a plugin, I take it?
Yeah, it's my basically I'm in portfolio now. So I'm in the edit mode of my latest portfolio piece.
Right. So this is presumably a custom post template that does the portfolio.
It's the problem is too, is for some reason this video, it's custom. This video is the top thing on my page. So if you go to my site, punkfilms.ca, the top of my site is black. And so
for previous videos that you've uploaded, do you have any of those still in posts on your site?
Yes.
And are they displaying?
Yes, they're displaying. So it just happens to be, this is the newest item. So it's creating a black space.
Is your plugin up to date, or what's the last revision date on the plugin?
It should be, the plugin should be up to date. But now here is a weird thing is when I had someone look at maybe why this could be happening, they're not seeing portfolio in my plugin, but on other portfolio pieces, when I'll just go to this one, for example, the world or nothing. When I scroll down, it's the same setup, exactly the same setup. The Vimeo here, in the Vimeo, it's embedded as the Vimeo link, no problem. And it turns up on my page, no problem. In every other one of my portfolio pages, I can embed a Vimeo or YouTube link in this video section, and it turns up no problem. It just is not working for my latest post suddenly.
Well, one suggestion came in on chat from Tyler.
Great.
He writes hard reload and then flush cache question mark.
Guys, can I jump in here for a sec? Well, this is Tyler, by the way.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so a lot of these problems I find you're using Chrome here. If you go to the 3 dots on the top right, So it might be just how they're interpreting the code.
Right.
And then you go to more tools.
Down,
Almost at the
down.
bottom. Yeah,
About
just past
2/3 of the way down.
up a little bit.
It's up a couple.
Oh yeah, here I see it. More tools.
Yeah, and then you go to the developer tool.
Yeah. Click
This
it.
is immensely, everybody should be using this a lot of the time. This is going to
Okay.
give you what's being rendered. You'll have their Java console. You'll see what the page is actually doing. But when you open up that window, if you go to the refresh page on the top left of the browser.
Top left of my
Right
browser,
click it.
refresh. I'm refreshing now. Should I do it?
No, right click it. So now you see you have a couple of other options. So there's a normal reload, which is what usually happens when you press reload, but you also have hard reload. That's going to completely flush your cache. No, I'm sorry, it's going to refresh your browser's history of that particular page. An empty cache and reload will also refresh the cache. So it might be something that your browser is stored in terms of code. It's just not working. It's always worth a try.
Should I do it?
Go for it.
Should I do hard or
Really,
empty?
I mean, the only thing that can happen detrimental is just that it'll forget things, places you've been,
Yep.
logins,
No
you've
problem.
used, and so on. But that's no
It's
issue.
just going to, and there's a lot of JavaScript on the page that it's going
problem.
to just re-download. So the developer of the of your template, you said it was custom, might have updated something. So
Okay,
Or
so
the
done
opposite.
it.
That he
Right,
the
yeah, they're gonna
developer
take
hasn't
something away,
updated
right? Yeah.
something, hasn't updated something, and that's why YouTube stopped working, but Vimeo continues.
Right.
exactly.
Let me now see. I'm gonna try the URL now. I'm gonna just make sure I have the right URL. Here it
This
is.
is only gonna
share,
tell us
not the
CSS
browser's
stuff,
URL.
right?
Make sure you use the share one.
Yeah. Let me try it.
I wonder what would happen if you paste an old a YouTube URL from 3 months ago that you know worked then, if it would have the same result as we're getting now.
No, it's not taking. Should I try some other URL, any URL?
Yeah,
For
try
the-
that.
Or try the Vimeo.
Yeah.
I would also try, sorry to add, I would also try, and I'm with Tyler on this, to try another browser, because maybe it's just the browser causing an issue.
Yeah.
Could be,
Right.
I mean, just guessing.
So
Yeah.
try
They're all things that
Firefox.
are worth trying.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll close this up maybe. Thank you for that. I'm back.
Okay, so trying a YouTube URL that you've used before successfully, if it displays, then it's the new URL that's the problem. If it doesn't display, then it's something in the way YouTube is currently working. And it may be that you have to go to the developer and say, you know, I'm unable to use YouTube URLs. Vimeo continues to work. What's the story? Are you updating, you know, the plugin?
So I'm going to try to I'm putting in a link that basically worked on my other page.
Right.
It's exactly the same link that just worked on another portfolio page. It's not taking it. It's not taking this Vimeo either. It's just not.
I think
Should I just rebuild this page? Should I just rebuild this whole portfolio page? Maybe just something is wacky.
Well,
That was
rather
my
than
suggestion.
rebuilding,
That's what I
page,
would do. I do that all the time. It's like it seems like just
Drew,
starting
what
from
were you gonna
scratch is
say,
better
Drew?
than troubleshooting.
Yeah, I would create a blank portfolio page, and without rebuilding all your content, just try pasting that link into a blank portfolio page just to see if there's something wrong with that particular page, that particular portfolio
Yeah, that portfolio page. That's a good approach, Drew.
That's a really good idea. Let me try
That
that.
would limit the issues to just the few as possible, right?
Yeah. So that's a great idea. And here I'm just basically doing a new portfolio page. I'm just going to call it today. And I'm
Okay,
going
why
to go.
don't we leave you to that
Yes.
for a few minutes and go to.
All you need to do here is just paste the URL and we'll see what
Yeah,
happens.
that's it.
No, it didn't work, my friends.
Okay.
It's
Wow.
not
That's the
working.
test. Yeah.
So definitely
Not-
the issue is a plugin, then something is happening, like Robin said, something with plugin is not picking it up.
Is it possible that my plugins have messed up? How can I check to make sure that Portfolio is a plugin? Is there?
Okay, so let's look at your plugins list.
Yes. Install plugins, yes?
Right, and you're saying that you don't see the plugin that you've used.
Portfolio.
Correct.
Portfolio.
Correct. I'm not seeing it.
It
Well, that
used
is
to be
strange. Now,
there.
do you know how to look at your directory that contains plugins? Do you know how to find that?
No, I basically,
I mean, one way to resolve the issue is to go and download a fresh copy of the plugin and simply overwrite the current one, which you can do. I don't know if you can do it within this panel or do you have to do it by FTPing in or using a control panel? What do you guys think is the easiest way to check the integrity of the plugin?
Yeah, that's the last test seems to indicate there's a problem. And the fact that it doesn't appear in the list of plugins is a real problem.
isn't that wacky? How?
Yeah, so you would go up to add new and click that for the plugins.
So I've got my plugins, installed plugins. I'm just going
Add
Go to the, right at the top
add
of the
new.
page.
I'm going to go add new.
Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to double check it's not here. It's really not here. I'm going to go add new.
Yeah. And then you upload the plugin. See that it's at the top left. That's it.
Yeah.
And you go and find that plugin file.
Yeah. Should I do a search?
I think we have to download the plugin first. Or are we going to install it directly from the repo? I was thinking that we might have to replace the folder, but if it installs it, then that is necessary. So Portfolio, there is no plugin called Portfolio.
I think of Portfolio because I had an issue with Elementor before. I think Portfolio is part of the Elementor plugin where it comes with and you're building it and it's kind of embedding it for customers.
Do we have Elementor running on this site?
Yes, she does.
Jacques, do you know if there's a Portfolio widget for
right
Elementor?
here?
You're not pro though, so there won't be a portfolio in the regular Elementor.
I had a look at embedresponsibly.com, which is the service referred to on the embed page. And it's there doesn't appear to be a separate WordPress plugin for it. It seems to be an open source online service where you plug in a URL and it generates the embed code for you. So it looks like this might have been embedded directly into this theme or possibly into the functions file as custom code.
Mm-hmm.
Hard coded, in other words.
Yeah.
Which is a terrible practice.
You could check the console.
Sorry to interrupt you guys.
There.
Sorry to interrupt you guys. There is a custom field plugin that's already installed on this website. So there can be an issue because they what I have seen the custom fields. That's the second last option there.
ACF.
Yeah, I believe the developer might be using some custom fields for the portfolio post type.
Oh, really?
If you, I just see that.
Okay, so click Portfolio.
Go to custom fields first, then we'll first figure it out.
Wait, where's custom fields?
That's the last option, just under the settings. Go down. Go down.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it.
Sharp eye.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is, Portfolio.
Yeah, click over here. Yeah, check it.
Well done.
Edit it.
edit.
1 second.
So here we have a video. We need to find the same link. Can you please open in another tab portfolio? Another tab, please.
Another tab, any tab,
Yeah.
like synopsis?
No, just click on portfolio, right click on portfolio. That's on the right-hand side left-hand side menu.
So,
Just under the
I'll
comments.
see. Click any portfolio. I see. 1 second here,
Yeah.
right?
Right
Click
click.
any one.
Yeah, new tab, so that we can figure it out.
Oh, I
Add
see.
new.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Coming to you. Hold on a second. Add
No
new.
worries.
Here we go.
No add new, but
Oh.
we can. Oh.
You mean
I-
add a new tab, right? You
Yeah,
mean add
new
a new
tab.
tab in my browser.
Yes.
Control T.
Exactly.
Control
Exactly.
T.
Okay. Here
Yeah.
we go. Okay. Add a new tab in my browser. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yes. And you want me to go back to my page now?
Yes. Open backend. You're already logged in.
This is also, okay, anyway, I'm here. Okay, so go back to portfolio,
Portfolios, yes. Edit anyone.
add a new one here, right?
No, no.
Oh,
Just
go ahead.
add the edit last one.
Like this is a phantom one, or do you want me to actually go into my page that I'm trying
Where you
to?
have the problem. Where you have the problem.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so here I have the problem. And here is the
I
problem
just
down
need
here.
to just verify this. This is the video generate from, yeah. Now go back to the very first one tab, edit group. Yeah. We need to find the same thing. Click on edit video. Yeah, this is the same one. So we need to find something from here.
So that is what it's saying.
So-
Generate from.
So what I believe, this is a custom code and it stopped working from the front end. We don't know how he's using, your developer was using this thing.
Right.
Yeah, we just seen it's O embedded field.
Which is a
So-
standard, but that doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily solve the
And
problem. does it?
but we don't know how he was working in the backend.
How he implemented
Yeah.
the standard.
I mean, is it weird that this is the same for every single portfolio piece, but somehow this page is not letting me embed a video? So I think maybe it was Tyler or someone said, do a new page for this project. Even if I have to upload, the media should still be in my media section, and just basically upload a whole new page. And that will prove if this embed video hyperlink is somehow messed up.
What they're
And then I
doing in
don't
the
know.
back end is generating a link,
Yeah,
and it looks like how they're doing that has changed in the recent past.
right.
So it's not working anymore. Whereas so in your previous posts, it generated the link properly and embedded it into the code. Now it's not doing that properly anymore.
And to add on top of it, Ingrid, you have already tried with the new page that we made today, and
True.
it's not working. So really, like Tyler said, I'm 100% with them. Something with them from the developer side has stopped working. So, I mean, if you really are dependent on these,
Yes.
I would go to developer and be like, hey, I don't care what you do, call me, email me, chat with me. I had to do for some of my customers because, of course, you know, customers, they just want a website. And I had to literally dig into the plugin editor. And I was like, hey, this customer really wants, especially with the YouTube videos. Like I had a customer where I was building lyrics plus music video for them. And for some reason, the embedding wasn't working. So I had to literally dig in. And apparently, all of a sudden, somehow the developer figured out that embedding was not working. So he actually did it thanks to me, did an update, sent me an email saying, hey, try it now. And then it worked. So
Okay. I'm going to have to go do that. This, just looking at my media library, I was always being able to look at it in grid form. Now you see what's happening. The only way I can access my media library is if I do it in this list form. Anybody have an idea why I cannot view grid anymore?
What?
cannot view my media library in grid form anymore.
Have you stopped to consider that you may have a certain touch that affects software?
Oh my.
Back up your site right away.
God, back up my site right away, right? Something is not happy.
Those weird interface problems are always kind of precursors to major problems.
Are you making regular backups?
No, I'm not making regular backups.
That might be a good thing to start like right away. The other thing is to go to your, who is your host?
Bluehost.
Bluehost. I don't know, guys, what's the quality of the backups at Bluehost, because host-based backups are the easiest to do. But not necessarily.
One every 7 days.
Okay, well, I would
never trust the host.
Backup plugin.
Okay.
Always back it up to your own machine. Always, 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 always.
Okay. All right. Well,
so what's the currently most popular one? Is it Updraft or?
Yeah.
All right.
I use all-in-one migration.
All-in-one migration?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very popular. Anything with over 1 million active users. And then Updraft is another one.
Updraft is good.
Yeah. Can you type those in the chat for me?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Updraft.
Oh, you just got them.
I'll give you a list.
Updraft is one. And the other one was all-in-one migration.
Yeah. All right. And if basically my developer is AWOL and I'm sitting with this site that is creating problems with me, meaning everyone that goes to it just sees this big black box at the top. Anybody here can help me build a site? Rebuild from scratch?
Why not?
I've had to do this.
I got all the media. I got all the content. I just need
that particular problem. You can just remove that one. You can move up your last portfolio piece in terms of date.
Yeah.
That's sometimes I'm not sure exactly what theme you're using, but that's worked for me in the past. Just seeing it for a couple of seconds that might work for you, just to get it working for now.
Yeah, just like for the next week. Okay, thank you all.
Security scan on the thing. It's free of charge, and it'll just check if there's any hacking bugs or in the thing. It does a pretty good check. If you have WordPress, it will do it automatically if you have that plugin.
Okay, I'll check that plugin out. Thank you so much.
Security is just a standalone security check that's pretty good.
Okay, thank you all. I really appreciate the help. Thank you.
All right, we had a question from a fellow with his hand up. Is he still here? He has a name in Chinese pictogram, so I wasn't able to pronounce it. Or is he still here? I guess not. Do we have someone else who would like to make a request?
I actually have a question, Robin, if you guys don't mind. I've been struggling with mine and my clients is a structure for embedding a payment. Like if someone wants to make a payment directly on a website. I have done about a month now of research trying to find any better options, but all I've been finding is that everybody is taking between 2.7 to 3% of transaction. Does anyone have any other recommendations that I am missing or that Google doesn't provide me with that could possibly give you less of the percentage? Because some of my customers, they don't want to charge, on heavy, expensive stuff. They don't want to charge another 1% just because, the online system is charged. I mean, another 3% just because the online system asks for it.
Brother, I feel your pain. I've been working in the not-for-profit industry and, basically everything from Shopify, Wix, and you just can't get around it unless you want to roll your own, right? Years is nothing I've found legitimate anyway. Start collecting Bitcoin.
Well, and presumably, if anybody has a better deal, you'll be able to find them with Google because they're going to want to let you know, right? This is not something that you keep secret, right?
Yeah.
You want as many people as possible, and just, I mean, Googling for lowest rate or special rates or discount rates or you know, whatever.
Because all I was finding is PayPal is the cheapest, but as soon as you mentioned PayPal, I'm going with Tyler. Oh, that's a non-for-profit. What do you want from PayPal now? Because PayPal is usually donator, you know. It's like.
I decided on them years ago. They're the best in the industry.
Yeah.
They take everything. If you go with Moneris and, you know, Interact Visa and stuff like that, they're just going to fleece you. PayPal is the most expensive in terms of ease of use and like putting it into your site really easily. But for the end user, it's by far the easiest.
I heard Stride or Stripe, whatever it's called, Stride or Stripe is also good.
They're just like to get that integrated into WordPress, they make it very difficult. And you know, you like with PayPal, it's just take the code, throw it in, it renders on the user site responsibly.
Okay.
It's great. When you use Moneris and stuff like that, they make you connect to a like a ref. So not only are they wasting your money, they're wasting your time. So I've always had difficult problems with them. Like, you know,
so you would recommend
big clients.
So you would recommend PayPal, eh?
For small users, yeah. If you're pulling in 40, 50 grand, something like that a year, like, yeah, definitely PayPal's the best. If you're pulling in more than that, 100 grand plus, yeah, maybe go into Moneris because it's
Okay, thanks.
more secure. But yeah, it's now really, and yeah, PayPal really nailed it. For WordPress, we're in the WordPress space right now, so that's what I mean. Like for that, just like copy code, plug and play, like, yeah, they're by far the best.
And quick question on it, sorry, just to add. So with PayPal, from what I've read, and I'm just confirming, you don't need to log in. You can just enter your credit card information and boom, the payment just goes through, right?
That's correct. That's the ease of use for the end user. Is just they really nailed it. That's what makes it great.
All right, thanks.
Right. I don't see any other hands up at the moment. Do we have another person with a request to step forward, please? Let me have a look at the list. Well, if there's no further requests,
I might have something. Does anybody deal with search engine optimization in the group here?
Probably most of us have something to do with SEO.
Yeah.
I'm constantly running into problems with how they're improperly crawling my WordPress site. They're caching links on, you know, one-page sites, and it's a JavaScript call that would say, like, you know, it's one-page site, like there'll be a link to say contact or something that brings you down to the bottom of the page. When Google indexes it and says, like, you know, contact info about page, the Google link, you know, it's tab indented, always brings it to the JavaScript error. And, you know, getting in touch with Google is always a pain in the ass. Has anyone had experience with that?
My experience, Tyler, with the one pages, don't do them. As personally,
you're right.
I have had numerous issues with the one page where I literally had to plead one of the customers. Yes, I know, buddy, it looks so good to just go back and forth on one page, but you ain't gonna be found on Google if you do a one page, because Google hates one page. I don't know if anybody else is witnessing it that way, but that's what I noticed.
You can't be more right, man. Like, I just, you know, I'd hope that somebody would have a secret phone number that you could phone to be like, can you just change your Google results? How great would that be? Yeah.
So just to make sure I understand the situation, you have a one-page site, and of course it's made up of a bunch of different sections, and there's one particular section with JavaScript in it that Google considers to be the sort of the URL of the page.
That's correct. So it'll notice your contact section because of the CSS class within you know, the JavaScript that takes you down, like scrolls down to that part of the section, but then Google improperly lists that as like, so if you see like, you know, mysite.com, and then under it, it'll say contacts about info. So if you click on the info, it's an improper JavaScript call. So you get an error.
Right. So in other words, it's using a URL that isn't intended to display the page.
That's correct.
But
so when you're paying, you know, when you're paying Google for ads and stuff like that, it's a real pain in the ass. But I think Boyan has the right idea to just stop doing that. They look great. And we're talking about mobile. You were talking about optimizing on mobile. That's the best way to optimize on mobile, right? Like, don't go to another page, just load the one page. Everything's there, everything's in your cache, and it just scrolls down in JavaScript.
Google wants blog entries and 300,000 pages.
Well, it is true that for a long time, Google has made a real effort to be able to analyze a page, break it into sections, and sort of decide what to make of the way it's structured as well as the content. And it has these arbitrary limits to how much it'll process before it decides that's enough for this page.
That's correct, yep.
And at the same time, it has a whole variety of ways of recognizing templates so as to exclude the templated content, the dynamic content, because it doesn't need to index that. It'll change every time the page is displayed. So it's able to recognize that. So what we're saying is now is that there's something it is recognizing that it shouldn't recognize. And you haven't found anything Googling this question. No one else has reported an issue with it.
I've been searching for a long time, and without, like, I could take the time and go and try and code something myself, because where it's pulling it is from a CSS tag.
Right.
And, you know, again, if I can get in touch with Google and just be like, don't do that, you know, just take the straight URL, not the CSS tag, you know, so it's taking it from the tag that's designing the rendered output. But yeah, it's only a pain in, like, what it's always Ebor. I don't know if you guys have had experience with them. It seems to be a problem with the way that they're structuring their themes. And it's paid advertising where it's a big problem, because these clients are paying for clicks, right? It's, you know, cost per click. So they're, you know, these clicks are just going nowhere and just rendering errors. So
there is
have
one
you actually
thing.
Spoken to anybody at Google?
Google Ads, yeah. And they just say, well, you just need to change your theme. So that's no help. I've never had any contact with technical support.
Yeah, Tanner, one thing you can do, you can work on schemas. Do you know schemas?
Go ahead.
It's a way how Google reads from your website.
Right.
If you have to make a question and answer, like frequently asked questions, then there is a particular format for that. You put a question and then answer for that schema. If you just install the Yoast plugin, then you can just see the schema there. So you can work around with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, schemas are a way for a site to tell Google that the content in a particular page has a structure to it. And the structure comes from, in part, the schemas, which you can choose from, like a book review. There's a book review schema. There's a recipe schema.
Exactly.
And so on. And so the benefit is that you're being more specific in telling Google what the content is about, and simply relying on Google's analysis of the content.
Also just put your website on Webmaster. On Webmaster, put your website and make sure everything is connected to Google Analytics is connected to Webmaster, and everything is connected, interlinked.
Yeah, we've got that. Like, we're using Google Tag Manager and all that, so that there's no problem there. It's literally just in how Google serves up their search results for a particular search or keyword or something like that. It's but the schema, that's a good one. I knew this would be fruitful. Thanks, guys.
I think if you go to schema.org, you'll find the sort of the top-down level view, and I think they have a catalog of, I don't know, is at 100, 200 schemas. And it's I guess it's the most popular of the metadata sort of schemes of that type, but there's at least 3 or 4 of them that have developed over the years. But schema.org does well with the WordPress world. And have you heard of something called the Dublin Core?
Sorry, what was that?
Or the
Doubling
Facebook
core?
graph, for instance?
Facebook, yeah, I deal with them quite a bit, yep.
Yeah, well, those are other ways of providing metadata to Google to try to focus and refine their search effort to the things which you've decided are applicable to your site or page, and not rely on their algorithms entirely.
That's great. I'll look into that. Thank you.
I guess it really just brings into play a different group of robots. It's still algorithmically driven, but it isn't necessarily the same crowd for all things. Okay, if there's nothing anybody wants to add to Doug's query, let me just see if there's a new chat request. Right. Ingrid, are you still with us? Because Jacques had a good point.
No, I don't see her in the list.
No, she might have gone because she seemed to be ready to go to work out. Take the advice that we've given her and see what she can make of it. Anybody else got a question to make? We haven't actually answered many questions, but we certainly have gotten into the ones that we did answer. I myself I've learned a fair number of things, and that's always pleasing.
Ben Fulton has his hand up.
Right, Ben, are you there? Oh, let me unmute you in case you don't know to ask to unmute. Okay.
Yeah, there he is.
It's not him, it's me.
Oh.
I'm his secretary.
Okay. What's your name?
Our website has been nothing but problems. I'm trying to use templates. We're just trying to do a basic website with toggles on the top. And I've tried different templates and they all don't do what I want them to do. And I can't seem to change anything to make it work the way I want it to.
All right.
Just very frustrated. I've been working on it for 3 months.
Oh, wow. So what is the
website
theme and page builder that you're using?
Okay, well, we're using WordPress and Elementor.
Okay, Elementor.
And our provider is Domain.
Your provider, your host is named Domain?
Yep.
That's interesting.
And you can do all the things you were talking about for the phone and everything, right? Like my website does it, like provider does that. You can switch to different venues to see how your website looks.
Why don't you share your screen and show us the site? I mean, I'm looking at it in a
well, you can look at it. It's benlaw.ca.
Right, but if you
can go to I'm not sure. I'm not. This is my first Zoom, so bear with me.
Okay. So what you want is the share
there
screen.
There should be a share. Hold on. Share screen.
Button. It's the green button at the bottom of the window.
Yeah, I just did it. Hold on.
And then you pick out the window from the ones displayed.
Okay, hold on.
Want to be the one.
Hold on a second. I can't find. I've got so many things open.
Just make sure that the window that you want is in the foreground, hopefully in the middle of your screen, and that makes it easier to find. I probably got 20 windows open myself, so.
Yeah, I can't find the, I don't, okay, maybe the Google one, I don't know. This, I don't want to show you my email.
Okay, well, we can all.
I'm sorry, I'm not.
I'm new to this.
What is the site name again?
It's in the chat window.
It's benlaw.ca. Hold on. I lost it now. I lost you.
What is this Shaw Decor by J. Marie.
No,
Somebody put
it's
that in there.
benlaw.ca. Hold on, I'll Google it.
Oh, that's from Judith.
That's exactly what it is. You put it in Google, it comes up.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to give you the link in a minute.
All right.
I just went to benlaw.ca.
Yep, it's easy.
Yeah, I've got it here too. There's a bunch of problems
The
there.
2022.
Doesn't matter which one I use. This sucks. I hate this. I can't change the black color. I can't make it smaller. See the toggles here?
Are we on benlaw, benlaw.ca?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, because that's a Gutenberg 2020 theme, right?
I don't know. I just went to WordPress and chose it. Like, it doesn't matter which one. I just need something with toggles in the top. I don't care which theme I have.
What do you, when you say toggles, point out what you're
when you click on the certificates for legal aid, logo description.
Okay, that's actually what's referred to as the navigation block.
Yes, yes.
And that is the way you see it now. Did you have a site before this 2020 theme?
Oh, I can change it at will
just a moment.
using different themes.
Did you have a site before starting to use 2020?
A mixed up one.
Okay, because the reason why you have this particular
okay?
nav bar is this is what is converted typically by 2020 when it picks up a classic theme.
Anyway, it doesn't matter which theme I choose. None of them work properly.
Okay, listen up. It's a 30-second fix.
Yeah.
If you know how to use the block editor.
Okay.
Do you know what the block editor is?
No.
Okay. So to be able to work on this site,
you've
already, for better or for worse, chosen a block theme.
Yeah.
Which for a novice is a bit of a bold move, but in any event, it's definitely workable as long as you're conservative in what you want the site to do.
Okay.
So, for example, if you know how to go to the dashboard?
Well, I know how to go into each thing, each section, and adjust them. I've been in and out of that site.
Right. Have you taken any of the WordPress social learning courses or workshops on using the block editor?
many.
Okay, so you probably
and Elementor also.
I've seen this menu fix done as recently as yesterday in a workshop. So there's lots of help on what to do. You've got a very, very basic layout here. It should be no problem at all to develop it, bearing in mind that you can make a lot of changes easily because of the blocks and patterns.
Yes, that's why we chose it. Like I can use a more simplified one, but the other ones I need one that has toggles in the top. He's specific for that. He wants
when you open up a page with this header part for editing. Remember, that's a header part, the header.
Yes, I know it's header, yeah.
Part. You'll see that there's a navigation block. When you click on it, you will see you've got like 6 different navigation menus to choose from. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever.
Yeah.
The one you've chosen is at the bottom of the list where it says list of URLs or URLs list, right? That's what you've got here. Pick any one of the other ones, nav 1, nav 2.
I've tried them all.
And you'll see immediately the effect.
Yeah.
To give you a bar. That.
This is the one that's closest to what he wants developed.
Okay, as I say, this is I wouldn't say trivial, but it's definitely not, it's one of the most basic steps, let's put it that way. And so you should have no trouble with it.
But I can't change the black. I can't change the black. I can't make the square smaller.
Well, that's because you haven't learned how to do it.
I tried.
Okay, but if you could display the dashboard to your page.
Yeah.
It'll be easy to show you where you set the colors for the theme.
I didn't
a
set it. It's
background.
preset, sir. It's preset.
Well, not exactly. There are presets.
Yeah, and I went in to change the color, and I changed the color on my site. Like domain is my provider.
Right.
Okay, and I tried to change the color. I click on it, it doesn't change it.
Well, I obviously I can't tell what you're clicking on.
Yeah, I know.
But having seen backgrounds added and subtracted for blocks, for sections, for template parts,
yeah,
it seems to be the easiest thing one could ask for. It's just click, click, click from the choices given, and the settings are off and running. But this presumes you understand the basic layout of the user interface, the role of the view list in the left sidebar, the view of the inspector on the right side of the page, the content area, blah, blah, blah. So in a nutshell, fixing your menu to give you what you want, very straightforward. Any of 2 or 3 of those workshops will tell you in several minutes. There's really nothing to it. In fact, Nick Diego's
can I just tell you something? The workshops I've attended, I'll show you how to build it from scratch. They don't use themes. They don't show you how to use the themes.
I'm afraid you're wrong. In every case that of the 25 or 30 of these sessions that I've attended, they use, where necessary, a full site editing or block theme. And the one you're looking at right now is the flagship default theme for full site editing. And I'm telling you that the reason your navigation block looks as it does now is because 2020, when activated, converted the previous navigation, whatever it was, widget or what have you, into this, and then changing it to some other navigation block is just what I explained to you before. You go to that template part, go to that particular block, select a different navigation menu, and bingo, you're done.
Okay, I'll give it a try.
Those courses are really important.
What courses? Because I've been taking YouTube. I've been on WordPress.
I would stick with the WordPress social learning because it has all you could ask for in coverage. They are the people who know best, being the insider, so to speak. And while not every instructor is equal in quality, even their least capable is still pretty decent. And their best is superb.
Well, this is how I got this group, is from WordPress, like on my website.
I must say, if I've shown a little enthusiasm here because you've got the 2020 theme running, it's just because it's uppermost in my mind the last little while as I've gone through this training process and learned how to understand how the thing works. And this exact situation I've seen arise in one of the learning sessions and explain this conversion and blah, blah, blah. You could in fact switch back to your previous theme and it would convert relatively cleanly.
Okay, how do you switch back?
Well, you just select the old theme and click activate and it will do all the work. It'll give you back the old menu unless you change this one.
I've changed it every single time I've gone into it. I've changed it so many times trying to get what I want. That's the problem.
Right. Well, if you could display, this particular header part, I can show you exactly what steps to take. But if
hold
on to
on.
display that or share that, then I can't, can I?
But let me just go into domain. Hold on. Anyway, we can come back to it. You can work on other people.
Yeah, I can also recommend, in addition, as an educational resource, there's a website called wpbeginner.com that has some very good tutorials on it.
What was it again? Sorry?
WP Beginner.
Yeah.
And it has some very good tutorials that'll take you right from the beginning.
Mhm.
And actually,
Okay.
if you know how
They're
to
very
search,
good.
if you know how to search in Google for the contents of a specific site, you can specify wpbeginner.com : navigation block, and it will point out what posts specifically address the navigation block. And you'll see step by step with a video how to add, subtract, or modify the way the navigation block works.
Okay, thank you.
Good tip there, Drew. Kinsta is another site that I'm fond of when I'm looking for a guide of some sort, because they seem to be quite credible in the quality of their work. My concern with WP Beginner is that it is beginner, so it sort of rises to a certain point and then stops. And then the more you use it, the more you find it stops too soon.
You can always learn from it. 10 years later, I'm still
definitely.
learning.
And Jacques, did you have something to say? Jacques?
Yeah,
I'm going to leave.
I've just proposed to our speaker that I spend an hour and a half session on Zoom to get her up to speed in working in, and it would be free of charge.
And you'd work in 2022?
What we would do is explore what she's tried in terms of other themes, and how is she set up for the classic editor. So she has a choice between using the classic editor or the block editor, and how she uses Elementor. Elementor is able to work under the block editor. If you have a special plugin called Elementor Gutenberg, it is even more powerful. You can mix the two, both block editor and Gutenberg. But the bottom line
Jacques,
is
I would
get her
suggest,
comfortable.
I would suggest that because we have a very much a beginner at WordPress, that you're complicating life considerably if you want her to decide between classic and block themes on the one hand. And then number two, there is a threshold to reach to be able to start using the block editor in any real way. The sooner people get started on it, especially when they have a content-oriented site, the better. So you would not be doing her a service conveying your particular opinions about Gutenberg and full site editing, which we all know well. So, you know, investigating an alternate classic theme doesn't seem to me to be good advice for someone who's trying to fix the navigation block.
Yeah, the whole process would be just to get her familiar with all the tools that are available in that WP Beginner tells you about in its things, but we would do it practically on her site with her choices made so far and go from there.
Why not just fix the navigation block first?
Fine.
I mean, that's what she's asked for, and it seems to me that it's bulletproof if you can start off by solving the problem that brought this, that she raises. And then if you would like to talk about, you know, different themes and all the web development tools are out there and all the plugins to choose from, that's fine because the problem's already solved. And so it should be off on the right foot. If you make it difficult to get to the simple step of fixing the nav block, that will not be a service to her.
I agree. I would concentrate on using the menus command to see if that could help resolve the navigation problems.
Actually, it's not a problem. It's merely in the automatic conversion that 2020 does when it hits a classic theme, replaces a classic theme, it will tend to turn whatever the nav bar is on the classic theme into a list of links, the simplest possible navigation menu.
Yeah.
It is not a problem. It is merely a question of go to the navigation block, choose a different one of the 7 choices or 6 choices of navigation menus, and the job will be done. You just have to then fill in whatever you set in the new menu as its contents.
Fine.
Like if you wanted categories, if you wanted pages, if you wanted posts, whatever you want, or contact page or what have you. But I guess the key point here is that this is not a problem. This is just the steps of implementing and starting to use 2022. And so that's why I'm saying in 3 minutes, 5 minutes at the worst, fixing that will produce a delighted, client who will be much more receptive than to trying to fix
other things. It sounds like you could do it right away for her.
I'm sorry?
It sounds like you could do it right away for her. You can
I just saw it done 2 or 3 times middle of the afternoon as part of a larger scheme on Flexbox. And actually, sorry, there was a session last week, which I missed, but I've now viewed the recording, which was on issues that arise when you switch a theme. Classic to classic, classic to block, block to classic, block to hybrid. And what are the things that arise? And so that was one of the things that came up was, oh, look at what happened to our menu when we switched to 2022, and look how simple it is to fix.
Oh, good. Point.
It's nice that it's actually nice once in a while.
To that, or wife to that solution.
Sure, and if you're talking to her and you want to do a Zoom session with me for the 5 minutes, fine, no problem. I just would hate to see you spend more time than that on something which is, just part of the basic orientation to how the block scheme works. She's got a pure vanilla 2022 activation on some older or classic theme, right? And so questions about, and she's got as her homepage, the blog homepage, because that's the default sort of startup, right? So, getting a front page instead of a homepage is sort of like the first step, right? Then you can talk about Elementor and build a new homepage or whatever. But getting the first thing going in the query loop that you've got right here is actually one of the fun things with the block editor, right? You can produce a really interesting set of tiles in almost nothing flat. And the number of patterns which are available is not very great, but certainly enough to satisfy 75% of the population, right out of the default theme. Anyway, I prattled on. Forgive me, guys. It happens to be something that I'm at top of mind these days. So are we just down to a handful? Anybody? Michael, Mikhail.
Hi.
How do you pronounce your name?
It's more asking out of curiosity than that I'm really having any trouble.
Okay.
I developed a site for somebody and they lost control and had to rebuild a bunch of stuff. And one of the things I realized was that redeploying that took me more time than I really wanted to spend. So I wanted to upgrade my setup a little bit so you can deploy a copy of a site faster. I'm using MAMP or MAMP Pro, Mac, Apache, SQL and PHP stack. And I can use that to develop my sites locally and then basically just say deploy to a staging server so that I can show them what I've done and then migrate to production if I want that. I started doing that a couple of years ago, and I haven't really kept in touch with what people use these days. What is people's preferred setup for that kind of thing? So,
well, I'll start off and be as brief as I can so that the others can have their say as well. I mentioned about attending a bunch of these WordPress social learning sessions, which are about the upcoming WordPress 6.0 release in May. So there's been lots of instructions and tutorials and so on. Without exception, they've all been using something called an application called Local, L-O-C-A-L.
yeah,
Local is in local development.
yeah, I've seen that.
It's from an outfit named Flywheel, which is a hosting service.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they recommend pretty much unanimously to go with Local.
But that's a big lock-in, right? You can't really.
I don't know how it would be. Why would it be lock-in? Why would there be lock-in?
I couldn't get it to work with my host.
Well, you don't. It only works with Flywheel or WP Engine.
Right.
That's
what I meant. Yeah. Yeah.
For moving changes from local to production, it only works with those two hosts because they own that particular product, and that's a premium feature. It turns out, though, that there is, at least to my knowledge and research as of 3 months ago, there wasn't a staging solution available. It wasn't either host bound, meaning the host provided it and therefore specified certain limitations. And so therefore I went with Local, which I've been using before, but hadn't updated to the newest version, and added to that a plugin called WP Staging. And it is, in my research, the most sophisticated of the staging plugins, bearing in mind that staging, migration, backup, and so on are all very similar functions. And a given plugin may be able to do all three, but only be known for migration, like all-in-one migration. Or what is it? WP Vivid is known for backups, but also does staging. However, when you get into the fine print of how staging works, the issue that I thought was important enough to make sure I got as a feature was very fine granularity on selecting in the database the tables to be promoted, the posts to be promoted, the pages to be promoted, etc., plugins and so on. So every component of a WordPress site can either be en masse, move to another site, migrate, stage, production, whatever. Or you could do just a certain group of tables or a certain group of posts, because for some reason that's what you're working on and that's all you want to update, right? To get that functionality, made it the most expensive of the plugins and one free of any hosting requirement. Blog Vault, for example, is a host which will give you one staging site, but the restrictions on how you use the site and the fact that it can only be used with the production site on that account and only can be all or nothing meant it wasn't at the extra cost involved, didn't seem to be worth it. SiteGround has staging, one click. However, if the one click doesn't work, tech support will tell you there must be something with your site. Right? So dig in, take it apart, go full time for 5 years and figure out the problem yourself, which I didn't think was helpful. WP Staging, on the other hand, says if you can't do something that we say you can, let us know and we'll figure it out. Now, I haven't tested them on that, and it could be all, just palaver. But anyway, not to prattle on, but that was the state of sort of staging capabilities and the use of local development capability was the Local app. So for example, just a few days ago, for those people who participated in the testing of the 13th round of testing for the 6.0 release, WordPress people got together and they gave us a zip file, a 300 meg zip file with a complete site in it to simply drop into local. And bingo, you got a site with 30 posts, 10 users, 15 pages, 50 settings and so on, and 6 or 7 plugins. Ready to go as a beta testing site with that particular configuration delivered, just simply by drag and dropping the zip file. I don't think you have that functionality with MAMP or XAMPP or desktop server. I think they're all great products. I mean, I used the Mac version way back when, but for some reason, local seems to be just one of those things that's like visual a code for a developer's editor is just, 60% of developers use that particular product, free product. Why? It's not the world's best, but it's good enough for that many people. So anyway, I've gone on longer than I thought. Drew, rescue me.
Yeah, no, WP staging is pretty good. I've used it myself. Very simple.
You're talking about the pro version or the free version?
I've used just the free version.
Right, it's the pro version that gives you, a list of all the tables, for example, that you check all or none or few or whatever. And that's the granularity that I was referring to. I think actually the WP staging, the way I thought of it is the free version helps you get set up. And then once you've got set up, you need the pro version to go somewhere with it.
The WP staging free version is actually really good for another purpose too. And it's for testing stuff. Like if you want to test like a batch of updates, or test a new theme or test a new plugin and see if it breaks anything.
Yeah, you haven't had any problem with that router issue, have you? There's 2 modes in which it works. One, there's a virtual router involved, and that's how you get externally usable URLs and SSH so that you can have a public-facing version of your local app or your local site. But it has to be in router mode. And for some reason on the Mac, in my case, there's a process running already that's a web server process that's running that's already grabbing the same port as local's trying to grab. It's okay.
What I do to get SSH or to get HTTPS is a wildcard certificate so that I can put my staging sites on their own subdomains, but you don't actually have to do that. You can just use a subdirectory for them.
Right. I mean, I'm referring to the case where you want to be able to show a client or somebody the site, and so therefore it's an external URL, and there's that. So there's this technical issue of the Mac system having a conflict that can't be. Now you're running local on a Windows machine.
I am, but I don't actually run
that issue. May
local.
Not arise because for some reason people have pointed it out, but there's no resolution, and it's such an obvious thing to fix. Drives me a little batty actually because it's the HTTPD process that the Apache web server that's built into the OS runs. Right. Well, that's the web server that local wants to use for the virtual router.
But I don't run local. I run my staging sites on the same server that hosts the live site.
Right. Now that wouldn't give you the opportunity though to use someone else's build of a site unless they did an export of the site and you imported it, I guess.
Yeah, I'm sort of in a situation like that where I don't control where my customers want to host the site. I set up a demo as on a subdomain of my own at my own host. So I could just run that as, you know, demo.mydomain.com.
As long as the environment, as long as the environment.
So my setup works.
As long as that environment is the same as the environment on the host, meaning the server's the same.
Yeah, that's the thing about, and that's one of the things I like about MAMP though, is that I can do that. I have a choice of PHP versions. I can choose whether I run
that's kind of standard though. Sorry? Locals has the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's got 5 different versions of PHP and 4 of Apache and 6 of WordPress or whatever. But I'm not sure that in any absolute way that any of them are better than any of the others, except that locals can, you know, ease of use, especially for beginners, is probably the winner over MAMP and XAMPP.
I guess so. Yeah. Configuring MAMP to do precisely that isn't it?
They're not idiot-proof by any means.
No. Yeah. I noticed that there was something that Kinsta has. Does anybody use that?
Do you mean a hosting or staging service?
Yeah, they have some sort of virtual server thing.
Not that I've used, but the reputation these guys have and their participation in a variety of ways in the WordPress community is such that I would take what they say as pretty reliable, and you're paying for it, right? So for the richness of their hosting fee, they provide a lot of quite worthwhile stuff. I mean, their development tools are considered to be pretty cool. And you
I've
only
used
get
Kinsta a couple of times.
And
if you can, if your client is willing to pay for it, I'd say seek no other. Like they're
right. But that's the key point, isn't it?
Right.
That you have to pay for these.
You can
things.
sell
the
them
other
on
thing
it.
Is that I wouldn't take
go.
If a host provides staging, I wouldn't take that as meaning just what it sounds like. Okay, staging is going to work. Staging introduces potential problems unlike other things that you might want to do. And so that's a good example of try it before you buy it, I guess. They can set up a site for you in literally minutes for a trial, and then you can try out the staging and see if it suits you. That's what I recommend if you're getting the hosting from the staging from a host rather than from a plugin. Or, I mean, staging can be run entirely manually. I mean, you could export a site, then import it somewhere else.
That's painful. I speak from experience.
I'm just saying, you always have that option.
Absolute nightmare.
Bare naked.
You got your FTP files going, but then your database, no, you got to link that up. There's also WP Engine. I've had really good experience with.
Yeah, WP Engine has bought Flywheel, and Flywheel had bought Local, and that's how Local, Flywheel, and WP Engine all sort of are related, and that's why you can promote from staging to production, or any remote host account, but only to Flywheel or to WP Engine. And they also offer a product called Atlas, which is headless WordPress hosting. And actually, just by the by, I think tomorrow, or is it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, is an online conference organized by WP Engine, and it's free, and it has maybe 6 or 8 sessions. Some of them may be relevant. I was thinking of taking in the headless one because that's something that's built into Local as an option, is that you can run a headless version of WordPress on the Local app, and but that has to connect to a Flywheel or WP Engine account to actually, I guess, render the site in question.
Yeah.
But
Robin,
that's
you
called,
also,
if you want to look up the conference, it's called Decode, just like it sounds, DECODE. And it's 2022. And I think, as I say, it starts Thursday and runs Friday, Saturday, something like that.
Awesome.
Robin, you mentioned Blog Vault for staging. They have some plans that actually do offer you some additional staging sites, but they're more expensive. And I'm pretty sure that their merge back into production does allow you to select which tables to merge back and which not to.
Well, as I say, the version that I looked at December or January, it was pretty much all or nothing thing. Plus, you can only have one staging site per account. So you had one site, one account, one site, one staging site. In the same way that WP Staging Pro and free, you can only have one staging site active at a time, which is no big deal because you can't work on more than one site at a time anyway. But it just speaks to the point that there are restrictions on the way these things work, partly out of their complexity and partly out of the fact that these are more expensive pieces of software to create and maintain than others. And so they charge more and get more. Was that any help to you?
Thank you. Yeah, no, appreciate the answer.
Okay. I think that might have done it. It's coming up to 8:20. This is too much excitement for me for one night after the sessions I've been through already this week. Does anybody have any last words, thoughts, or requests?
I'd just like to say this was absolutely fantastic, and I'm glad I found you guys. This is great. Thanks for organizing things, Robin.
Yeah, was that Tyler?
That's me, yep.
Yeah, yeah, get your video working and come back, you know, so we can see your smiling face. And
I'm doing this on a phone, so next time you'll see my smiling face for sure.
I mean, you know, Zoom works just as well on a phone. I mean, I use FaceTime for friends and family on my iPhone, and it's different because you only get like one face on there at a time. Really, it's too small a screen. But
I know. It's just I've just tested the waters, and within 5 minutes, I was like, this is really interesting.
I wonder, Drew, what Jacques will do with that lady tomorrow. Whether, I mean, she doesn't want to hear an hour and a half's worth of, you know, this developer tool or that, you know, classic theme, or, you know.
You know, it's interesting. Alex Sirota made an interesting comment, 6 months or a year ago, that that WordPress isn't necessarily the right tool for everybody, and just to take a business person and throw them into the block editor, it really isn't fair. WordPress really has become a professional development tool. And, you know, maybe she'd be better off with something like Squarespace, where
or Wix.
You just pick a template and go.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree with you more. I'm finding a lot of clients
distinguish between the theme building, the site maintenance, and then the writing and authoring on the site. And I think that on the last point, the amount of training to reach something equivalent to what people might have learned in the classic editor over the last 5 years, you know, you might be talking about a relatively short period of time with a lot of distinct benefits, meaning that even the most novice or beginner of writers can understand sort of the core 6 or 8 blocks, you know, paragraph, title, image, that sort of thing. And if all they have to choose from, literally all they have to choose from, are a small collection of blocks which they've learned and understand, right? then I think they're far better off than they are with the classic theme and the classic editor, where you're stuck as usual with an empty canvas that you have to figure out what to put in it. And you basically end up with text and images only. There's no layout at all. Layout wasn't part of content areas until page builders.
Yeah. And I wonder if some people aren't just better off to have somebody do the initial setup for them and then let them edit their own content.
I think in the coming days with what the full site editing offers, particularly in regard to the portability of what you do on one site, being able to take that and use it on another site is particularly impressive and valuable. So yeah, having somebody set your site up and in effect choose the options which make sense in the context of the actual work to be performed, right? So that they don't have choices that aren't meaningful to them. And one of the things that's interesting about the full site editing is your ability to control the visibility and availability and movement of blocks so that you can prescribe layouts and not have them changed. But the fundamental thing is that when people sit down to write something, to author something, the toolkit can be quite small and they'll be quite happy if it's the right selection of those core blocks. And I can't believe anybody who actually spends some time with the block editor would ever choose the classic editor over it. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, you look at 5 icons to choose from in one case versus 20 in the other. Anyway, I find the classic editor is just a version of Word, charted up to work in an alien world. And that's why the classic editor had so many plugins to give it the functionality that didn't come out of the box. But, I'm speaking of my own prejudices there.
There's a really interesting tool called Bold Grid that has tried to make WordPress setup easy. And basically, they just generate a template site for you and then let you take it from there. And they've simplified a few of the menu items and stuff like that. It's really kind of interesting.
I'm just bringing it up. Build a better website and grow your business. Interesting. Well, a buddy of mine just the other day on the weekend said, so when am I going to put together, a Jekyll or what's the other one? My mind's just gone blank. The one that starts with H.
Hyde.
Static site generator based site, because we both have enormous quantities of publishable content that we're just not inclined to convert to a WordPress dynamic publishing when there's nothing dynamic about what's being published. Quite the contrary. Its principal characteristic is that it's static. So that's an interesting point there. And I was struck the other day. I was on a quite interesting site from the business's point of view. It's a sophisticated product. And I kind of liked the site. So I, looked inside to see what it was. And it was Squarespace. And I was sort of stunned to think that these really sophisticated guys, I mean, what are they using Squarespace for? And I guess it's thinking, as you have suggested, Drew, is that in certain cases, it does the job. That's not what your business is about. Pissing around with website designs.
What industry are they in?
If it gets up and running and does its job and it looks good, then the job is accomplished. I mean, there is something to be said.
I run into this problem all the time. And so I'm finding this with Shopify as well, where people have these giant marketing budgets to to build something from scratch where I'm like, well, just chop that into a 10th, put a Shopify site together, because what you're doing is marketing. You're trying to, you know, the funnel system, right? Like, you know, are you trying to get people to buy things, or are you just doing awareness? And we've had some pretty good success with platforms like Wix, Shopify, and Squarespace.
Excellent. Okay, guys, I think we'll call, unless anybody protests, we'll call it a night. And look forward to the next one.
Okay, it's been good. All right.
Okay, Drew, nice to see you. Okay, you too, Tyler, come back. And this Cole Carley, if he's still around, no, I guess not.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Come back again and ask a question.
Of course. Of course.
Okay, ciao,
it was very informative. Thank you very much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bonsoir.
Bye.